we have arrived. Welcome to Zambia, Livingstone. We are staying in a hostel. We have a private room. So we are in Zambia, where we can go and visit Victoria Falls. I've been dreaming about the falls for many, many years. And while we are in South Africa, we are able to actually hop on the plane and get to Zambia, to Livingstone. And we're going to go and see that tomorrow. Today, we're going to focus on walking around Livingstone, see how the life looks like around here. Let's go and have a look at how Livingstone looks like. The city is named after Dr. David Livingstone, one of the most extraordinary figures in the entire history of African exploration. David was born in Scotland in 1813. He trained as a doctor and missionary and arrived in Africa in 1841. It's $5 per person and I cannot record inside, so we're not going there. Livingstone is a city in the southern province of Zambia, sitting just 10 kilometers north of Zambezi River. With a population around 177,000 people, it is a relatively small city by African standards. The city's economy relies predominantly on tourism, acting as the primary Zambian gateway to Victoria Falls, one of the world's largest waterfalls by volume, and UNESCO World Heritage Site. The town itself has a colonial-era charm, with wide tree-lined streets, old British-era buildings sitting alongside modern guest houses and restaurants, colorful markets, and friendly, genuinely warm people everywhere we go. Very colorful. The city of Livingstone was established in 1905 as a major colonial settlement and served as a capital of Northern Rhodesia from 1911 until 1935, when the colonial capital was moved north to Lusaka. And of course, I had to visit Livingstone's famous curio market. The moment you set foot anywhere near it, the calls start. Come look, just looking is free. Best price for you, my friend. Special deal, today only. But bargaining is absolutely expected and absolutely part of the experience. Nice to meet you, Luis.
Nice to meet you.
I'm Paweł.
From where?
Poland.
Oh, Poland.
You know Lewandowski?
Lewandowski, yeah.
There you go.
I know,
That's the easiest one.
Yes.
Do you do them yourself?
Yeah, this one we buy the material.
Yeah, of course.
Yes, others they don't make. They buy to our friends who make. But me myself, I do.
So how much time it takes you to make this one?
This one we don't make it one a day. We do make like in different stages. We make maybe today or see. There's my numbers here, boy. Let me show you. This is in 1/8. So meaning you shape it first stage, second stage, third stage. So in the day you can make 5 of these one in a different stage. Tomorrow you continue another stage.
I see.
And then another day you continue another stage. For this one, 600 kwacha. These ones, 250.
I bought some souvenirs, small ones, but it's completely different than South Africa. I think it's peaceful. I think it's nice. People are nice. More troubles than in South Africa, where we were. Also, I can see a lot of policemen with guns, with weapons all around to make it sure that you feel safer.
Mosi-oa-Tunya.
This is the place I've been waiting for a long, long time. Welcome to Victoria Falls.
So like for now, we are standing here on the verification point. Then on this side, or the Zambian side, we have 4 trails. Namely, we have the upstream trail, main trail, boiling boat trail, and the photographic trail. The main trail. So on the main trail, this is a trail whereas you're supposed to be face to face with the Victoria Falls, whereas you're also supposed to see the sections of the waterfall. Because what forms the Victoria Falls? There are 6 different waterfalls together with 2 islands. So for the waterfalls, we have the Eastern Cataract, Rainbow Falls, Upshur Falls, Mosi Falls, Main Falls, and the Devil's Cataract. And then apart from those, we also have these 2 islands. Like for the Cataract Island, there is nothing which is happening there. But on the Livingstone Island, that's where you can swim right at the edge of the falls. It can be either on the Devil's Pool, Angel's Pool, or the Rock Pool.
We had some introduction. And now we're gonna go for the first side of waterfalls. It's gonna be a few hours in here, probably 4 hours. Let's enjoy it. Victoria Falls is formed on Zambezi River, right at the border between Zambia and Zimbabwe. As the massive river flows across a plateau, it plunges vertically down a 108-meter drop. The Zambezi River is over 2,500 kilometers long, which makes it the 4th longest river in Africa. Flows through 6 countries, rises in Zambia and ends in the Indian Ocean.
Once you come between the month of October and November, you don't find this water. It's way, way, way drier than what we're seeing. Okay?
This waterfall is absolutely incredible. Huge, lots of water today. Perfect time to see it. There's a bridge behind, which we're gonna cross later on for other view of the waterfalls.
Dr. David Livingstone, on the 16th of November 1855, he became the first European to set eyes on what's called
Mosi-oa-Tunya.
the smoke that thunders. We know it today as Victoria Falls, and described it as the most wonderful sight he had ever witnessed in Africa. He named it after Queen Victoria.
Then once you come between the month of October and November, you find it like this. On this side, water is supposed to be dry because of this channel of water. So this channel of water was supposed to be bringing water there, but before it hits the falls, it's been trapped here, or rather there, and the water is being diverted all the way to the turbines to generate electricity.
During dry seasons, massive herds of elephants swim across the Zambezi River just a few kilometers upstream from the massive drop. During high water and full moons, the spray creates rare nighttime rainbows. It's a nighttime rainbow produced by moonlight reflecting through water droplets. Victoria Falls provide a permanent rain. The spray rises up to 400 meters in the air and is visible from 50 kilometers away, meaning you will get soaked even on a perfectly cloudless day. The air current forced into the narrow gorge bounces back up so hard that the mist visibly shoots upward instead of falling down. The Knife Edge Bridge, a footbridge that takes you face to face with the Eastern Cataract. During peak high water, walking across gives you a complete 360-degree immersion in binding spray, completely soaking you in seconds. And the water is dropping 100 meters right into the canyon below us. Absolutely incredible. The Eastern Cataract section of the falls is located entirely in Zambia. It is the highest point of the waterfall, but it also dries up completely during October and November, exposing a bare rock wall while the Zimbabwe side continues to flow.
Okay, crossing the bridge again. Let's do it. The waterfalls are absolutely amazing. Really well worth coming. We had the place almost for ourselves, so that's how we can enjoy it so much. So early in the morning is the time we want to come. We're leaving the Zambian side. We're gonna go through immigration and go to the Zimbabwe side now. Welcome to Zimbabwe, Victoria Falls. We just crossed the border and we are here. All the same salesmen all around, both sides, if you want to buy something. I think we have to pay $20, no, $58 each on that side.
So we are going from point 1 up to point 12 today. On the Zimbabwean side, we have got 3 falls, whilst on the Zambian side, we have got 4 falls. So we have got 7 falls, which constitute the Victoria Falls.
Change of raincoats, you need one in this place.
And on the Zimbabwean side, you view more falls compared to Zambia side. And also we have got the Zambezi River, which constitutes the Victoria Falls, which starts from the source in Zambia, flowing going to the Indian Ocean in Mozambique. The distance from the source up to the mouth is approximately 2,693 kilometers. And the Zambezi River is known to be the 4th longest river in Africa after Nile, Congo, Niger, then Zambezi. And with this river, it flows through 6 countries. It starts from Zambia, passes through Angola, Namibia, Botswana, Zimbabwe, then to the Indian Ocean in Mozambique.
This view is spectacular. Just insane.
And also at the point 1, we've got the statue of David Livingstone, the first white man to sight Victoria Falls, the 16th of November, 1855. and he was the one who named Victoria Falls honor of Queen Victoria of England. Here we call it Mosi-oa-Tunya. That means the smoke that thunders.
The last view from Zimbabwe side. You have to experience that at least once in your lifetime. After the Victoria Falls, we decided to go and see a park where the rhinos are. So we're gonna go for a walk with rhinos, we're gonna drive around the park. It's a small park without predators.
Okay, welcome into the Mosi-oa-Tunya National Park. Mosi-oa-Tunya National Park. Caesar is my name, Veronica and Ella.
Mosi-oa-Tunya National Park is a small reserve wedged between the town of Livingstone and the Zambezi River, right on the border between Zambia and Zimbabwe, safeguarding 12 kilometers of the Zambezi Riverine woodland. And it's the second smallest national park in Zambia. It's a home to hippos, crocodiles, antelope, zebra, wild beasts, giraffe and elephants. And the most importantly, Zambia's only white rhinos. This is the only place in the entire country of Zambia where you can find white rhinos, the only one. And it's one of the few places in Africa offered tracking white rhinos at close range on foot in open terrain. The white rhinos were introduced to the park in mid-2000s as a part of a broader Southern African conservation effort to protect and grow the southern white rhino population. As of 2023, there were 12 white rhinos in the park, with new calves being born regularly, and rangers vigilantly guard and protect the white rhinos in the park. Rhinos are protected 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Wild, free white rhinos in a very close distance, much closer than you expected. Being on foot with a white rhino rather than in a vehicle is a real experience. You can hear them, the low rumbling breath and a heavy footfall in the dry grass. You can smell the bush and feel the ground around your feet.
It's nice to see rhinos, wild rhinos with whole horns in wild. And we had a ranger with us to make sure that we're all safe.
And that's a wrap on Mosi-oa-Tunya National Park, the falls, and our time in Livingstone. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and leave a thumbs up. It really does help more than you know. See you in the next one.
Amazing!